Panse. Good morning, everyone. This morning, I truly felt the sincerity in Pope Francis's words. I felt that he truly translated the truths that we all shared this week from his head into his heart. Between now and his visit to Canada, I hope Pope Francis will continue to reflect upon our words and our truths of our survivors, and on the immense harm caused by individuals as well as the Church itself, so that when he does come to Canada, the Pope can apologize once again directly to our survivors and to their families, and can do so from a place of deep understanding and acknowledgement, and then follow those sincere words of apology with sincere acts of atonement, which he has committed to. That is why today we from the Métis National Council gifted the Pope not just our stories, but also the gift of tangible actions, of practical steps the Church can take to begin walking alongside the Métis Nation on our journey of truth, justice, and healing. Reconciliation did not start today with the Pope's words of apology, and it certainly doesn't end here today either. The Pope's words today were historic, to be sure. They were necessary, and I appreciate them deeply. And I now look forward to the Pope's visit to Canada, where he can offer those sincere words of apology directly to our survivors and their families, whose acceptance and healing ultimately matters the most. And I want to end today by saying that Métis, First Nations, and Inuit have modeled unity in this Vatican visit. We are showing the world what can happen when we are united, and I am proud to stand here with my brothers today.
Nakomik, President Caron. I'm Natan Obed, President of the Inuit Tapri Kanatami. This has been an emotional week. This has been a very difficult week of bringing the truth of our residential school experience, the truth that the harms of the Catholic Church have done to Inuit communities, here directly to the Vatican and to the Holy Father himself. In the audience that we had this morning, Pope Francis reflected upon the entirety of our message that we have brought forward. And he did so in a way that really showed his empathy towards the Indigenous people of Canada. He also showed a willingness to do something that the Catholic Church has not done yet, which is to frankly and openly offer an apology. The direct words are, he said, were, "I am sorry." He also talked about abuse. He talked about the negativity and the evil that was perpetrated on residential school students, and also the lasting effects of intergenerational trauma. We at ITK look forward to working with the Canadian Council of Bishops and the Vatican to not only plan for this message to be brought to Canada and to our people in our homelands, but also to see action that really will be the hallmark of this reconciliation journey with the Church. Thank you so much for being a part of this with us. And I also want to thank Chief Antoine and President Caron for the work that we have done together to make this all possible. Nakomik.
Merci. Merci. Bonjour. It's good to see each one of you. I'd like to thank my sister and also my brother for being here with all our delegations, and also leading our delegation, so that way we could be able to come back together, as we have always been challenged because of the Indian residential school system and also the doctrine of discovery. Our family, like branches on a tree, we all grow in different directions, yet our root remains the same. I'm not quite sure who the author is, but I just wanted to let the author know that we're using this in a good way, and we'd like to acknowledge that author. 3 adopted children saw this message, and in their friendship, they shared this message with me, and I'd like to acknowledge the children. Today is a day that we've been waiting for, and certainly one that will be uplifted in our history. His Holiness Pope Francis, head of the Catholic Church, has issued a long overdue apology for the Roman Catholic role in church-run residential school. It's a historical first step. However, only a first step. More news to be done to address the Truth and Reconciliation Call to Action number 58. The next step is for the Holy Father to apologize to our family at their home. We seek to hear his words. They also seek their words of apology at home. I think it's very historic, and as you can see, the natural divine moment that we have, even by the natural power of the Spirit out there, it has shone a spotlight, a natural spotlight to all the things that our people have endured, and also all of the people over here on this side also have endured. As I mentioned yesterday and the day before about these 2 images of 2 people pointing fingers at each other and almost touching. That is a very divine moment that somebody laid on his back and looking up in the sky and drew that illustration. And it's really a privilege for all of us, my sister and my brother and all our delegations, to be part of this moment. None of this would have been possible without the collaboration and strength of our family. I'd like to thank our grandparents, our parents, our children, and our grandchildren, and also the leadership, my sister here, and and also my brother and other leadership, and all those other leadership that have also helped us to be able to be coordinated and to be focused. We hope that if this visit does occur, that we are not only involved, however, active partners in the planning and also the determination of location and sites for the Pope to tour. Why? Because it's our home. We came here to your home, and they were involved with it. And in terms of moving forward, they need to also respect that this is our home. This is our family's home, and our family needs to be involved in it. It would be a disappointment after all our work this week and all the history that's been written so far to not be included at the decision-making table for this visit. We accept this apology as a gesture of good faith that acknowledges that he will come to our home, Turtle Island, and to formally apologize to all our family. And so with that, say masi nere sinethen joka ajon sehe natsere jam de da ka slik etatsri de on da ejiga kandida masi enethen. Ijia ajon kandi nadahte say masi nere sinethen. Ka ajon kandi da kandi met I when da atega ne de ajon met out de siago. So today, I thank you for being here. And I thank you for doing your best to also tell the story of this truth. It's really important that the skills that you have, the reasons why you do this, is that you also share the truth that we've been saying. That would be very respectful, and so that way the global family out there, they can also benefit from what we're doing here. So I'd like to thank you and Hamasi.
We'll take 2 or 3 questions. Please state your media outlet, and I'll call you.
Willow Fiddler, Globe and Mail. This has been such a long time coming, as you have mentioned, and although it's not quite the apology that will happen, that you hope to happen in Canada, can you just describe the moment, what it was like to hear those words spoken to you today?
For me, I was deeply moved when we were reading along in English the words of the Pope, and I was sitting next to my elder, Angie Crier, who has been with me along this journey the entire time. She's the one who brought me around our Métis Nation homeland to hear the stories of our survivors. And when Angie and I were sharing a book and reading the book together, I pointed out the words, "I am sorry." She broke down into tears, and it was so moving because I know how important that is to her, and I know how important those words are going to be to our survivors back at home, which is why we will continue to advocate for Pope Francis to share those words, those sentiments, what he's learned and what he's heard from us back on our homelands.
Behind the cover-ups, behind the indifference over 100 years, behind the lies, behind the lack of justice, this Pope Francis, decided to go right through it and decided to speak words that First Nations, Inuit and Metis have been longing to hear for decades. It will be now up to us as Indigenous people on how we internalize that and how we respond to it. But in the moment, I couldn't help but thinking about how people can change the world and how individuals can see that there is justice and that there is a path towards justice. And it certainly made me think of all the other people who can act with us in paths to justice associated with reconciliation and also the justice for sexual abuse and violence against children that still have not come to justice in this country.
Masi, the moment is like our family going out on the land, their home, and they want to go and put food on the table. The moment is like when you're going out there in the snow and you see fresh moose tracks. That's the feeling that I have, because there's a possibility. However, you have to also still do your knowledge. You need to use the knowledge that we have to live with the land, to also put food on the table. Is that you still need to do work. You still need to go tracking that moose. You still need to look at the elements, the wind, the sun, and where the moose goes. These are all the things that we all have learned to be who we are, to put food on the table. And so that moment is very special. The other thing is that when you go put your fish net in the water like this, you don't know what you're going to catch, but you're very hopeful because you try your best to do the things that you need to do to put things in place. And so you have to really rely and trust the natural processes that need to happen. And so we're very hopeful that these things have been done. We have set that fish net there. We also saw that fresh moose track, and we'll see how things are as we move forward. Masi. This is a very huge issue. It started off with the doctrine of discovery, where the direction is to say, go out there and do whatever that had happened that we've been telling you. And that was not a good way to go forth. And so when we offered that cradle, and we suggested that to keep it overnight, the way that I see it is that it's going to take a few more days for him to think about that, because it is a very huge, enormous issue, because it has to do with our family. And also it had to do with the ones that are most vulnerable, our children. And so it is a huge issue. And I know with the words that he has shared with us, the words that my sister and my brother shared, the way that we had collectively look at this, he certainly has a few days to go. And I know that when he does come, I'm sure that cradle will be accompanying him. Merci.
Thank you. Last question.
Will your delegations be involved in the planning of Francis' trip to Canada and in the drafting of the official apology? Has the Vatican said that to you yet?
Before we came here, we were only in preliminary discussions with the Conference of Catholic Bishops, and we have yet to fully understand the process that goes into planning a papal visit, but it is our expressed desire to be partners in planning for the papal visit to Canada so that we can ensure that Pope Francis visits the most meaningful and spiritual places of our families and our communities.
I'm just going to go back a little bit. As you can see, our family, as you've also been shared with a glimpse of our culture and our spirituality, with the things that we've experienced, and with the delegation, I'm sure you also had experiences too, is with the requirements of the preventative measures. We were only looking at each other through TV or listening through the audio system. And it was so amazing that we got together here and we began to really humanize with each other. And so because of these things, we showed you that it is very important to be humanized. And so our message to the world is that we are all in this together. We're human beings. Let's work together to humanize the way we need to with Mother Earth. Merci.